Tonight at 11, confessions from the cockpit.
I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them to hear that I did this.
After a plane was stolen from SeaTac Airport, chased by fighter jets, and crashed in the South Sound.
He was in uniform. His job is to be around airplanes.
Now, Cairo 7 uncovers who was at the controls and investigates the access he had at the airport that led to this scare in the sky. The FBI has now taken the lead in this investigation, reviewing security at the airport and this man's unauthorized flight, which lasted just over an hour. Good evening. I'm Lindsay Sheldon.
And I'm David Solano. We have a lot of new developments to tell you about tonight. We now know this all started after the Horizon Airlines plane took off from runway 16C at SeaTac Airport. We mapped it out on your screen.
We also know the plane took off at 7:32 last night. It made several circles around the SeaTac airspace and then lost contact with an air traffic controller at 8:47 when it crashed on Ketron Island near Joint Base Lewis McChord. Cairo 7's Michael Spears is at SeaTac Airport tonight looking into the employees' runway access and confessions from the plane's cockpit.
At 7:32 p.m. Friday, takeoff.
Not quite ready to bring it down just yet.
A Horizon Air ground worker in the pilot's seat of a Q400.
To our knowledge, he didn't have a pilot's license. We don't know how he learned to do that.
Cairo 7 has learned that Russell, who was certified to run the pushback tractor, used it to turn the empty plane 180 degrees, then jumped inside. Chopper 7 flew over the area at SeaTac where the plane was parked. No key needed to open the door or start the engine. Russell knew the switches and levers to get airborne.
But holy smokes, I gotta stop looking at the fuel because it's going down quick.
His conversation with air traffic controllers recorded.
I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's gonna disappoint them to hear that I did this.
They tried.
We're just trying to find a place for you to land safely.
But couldn't get him down alive.
I think I'm gonna try to do a barrel roll. And if that goes good, now I'm just going to nose down and call it a night.
Crashed about an hour later on Ketron Island.
I want everybody to know that we are diligently investigating this matter.
FBI agents interviewed dozens of family and friends overnight to learn more about Richard, who worked for Horizon Air for 3.5 years. Tonight, Cairo 7 spoke with a former longtime employee of the airline off camera who didn't want to be identified. He called what happened surreal and described Richard as a nice kid who people thought highly of. Among his last recorded words was this message to family and friends.
I would like to apologize to each and every one of them. Just a broken guy. Got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it until now.
Alarming to hear those words straight from him. That was Michael Spears reporting. Tonight, the CEO of the Alaska Air Group, which includes Horizon Air, said they will be looking at protocol regarding locking up planes. Luckily, there were no close calls with other airplanes during that unauthorized takeoff.
New at 11, family and friends of Richard Russell say they're stunned and heartbroken. Cairo 7's Deborah Horn was there as a family spokesperson read a statement to reporters in Ording tonight.
This is a complete shock to us. We are devastated by these events.
It was the first we heard from the family of Richard Russell since he hijacked an empty Horizon Airlines plane and took it for a joyride. And it came from a friend of the family that loved him as Bebo.
It may seem difficult for those watching at home to believe, but Bebo was a warm, compassionate man. He was a faithful husband, a loving son, and a good friend.
So how to explain Russell's decision Friday night to do this?
As the voice recordings show, Bebo's intent was not to harm anyone.
Maybe not, but the way he flew the jet alarmed a lot of people on the ground.
Where our house is located, it literally was right above the tree lines.
Jen Matthews lives on the Eatonville-Graham line, not far from the home of Russell's in-laws. She says her husband watched in horror as the aircraft buzzed low over their house.
When your husband saw it, did he think it might crash?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he was thinking. He was like, are they going to crash here? Like, what's going on?
Hi, I'm Bebo Russell, and I'm a ground service agent. That means I lift a lot of bags.
Russell worked for 3.5 years for Horizon Airlines. He posted several videos online, including this one, in which he talked about his job.
I usually have to work outside in this, but it allows me to do some pretty cool things too.
His family says his actions have them leaning on their faith.
And Jesus is truly the only one holding this family together right now.
Still unanswered is why Richard Russell took to the skies in an aircraft for which he was a ground agent. But based on what the family spokesman said here, they may not know either. Reporting in Orting, Deborah Horn, Cairo 7 News.
New this hour, we are getting a statement from the National Air Traffic Controllers Association on the incident. They said in part, we especially acknowledge the contributions of the controller who worked this aircraft and communicated with the individual at the controls. The recordings of the incident display his exceptional professionalism and his calm and poised dedication to the task at hand. That is a hallmark of our traffic controller workforce nationwide.
The crash on Ketron Island resulted in a wildfire you see there. Tonight, Washington Department of Natural Resource crews are on scene working to keep it under control. Chopper 7 was over the fire last night. Plane parts engulfed in flames were strewn across the southern part of the island. Now, this map gives you a better idea of how close the plane came to several homes on the island as crews scrambled to get firefighting equipment on board the island's ferry.
Cairo 7's team coverage continues from the Stillicum dock near the crash site. As Joanna Small reports, none of the residents living nearby are allowed on the island right now.
Are you sure he's not going to hit us? Last night, people across Pierce County could not believe what they were watching. A rogue commercial airplane circling at a terrifyingly low altitude, chased by 2 military jets, then taking a dramatic nosedive into forested Ketron Island.
We saw the police boats going by, and then finally, there was the loud boom, and I looked at her and said, what, did they drop a bomb over there? And that really must have been it, unfortunately.
It was just as unbelievable to the NTSB.
Very unusual. It's not like we get this every day. He was able to take the aircraft and get it airborne, and we do know that he was in communication with air traffic control.
The plane crashed here on the southwest side of the island. This map shows the people who live there fortunately live nowhere near there. Cleanup could take days. Priority number 1 for the NTSB is recovery of the 2 recorders on board that downed plane.
So the cockpit voice recorder picks up, obviously, the cockpit communications. So we already have the air traffic and pilot communications. But he might have been talking to himself in the cockpit, and they might be able to get some additional information. So that's where that's valuable.
The other is a flight data recorder. Both are buried somewhere in the wreckage.
It is highly fragmented. The wings are off. The fuselage is, I think, kind of positioned upside down, but it is pretty fragmented.
Investigators hope the recorders will piece together a story that is still fragmented as well. If there is anything good about any of this, officials say it is that the plane went down in an area that is very sparsely populated, essentially only taking out trees. The NTSB says had it gone down in the Puget Sound, there would be very little chance of recovering anything from that crash at all, including the 2 recorders that officials are so desperate to get their hands on. In Stillicum, Joanna Small, Cairo 7 News.